So you got to hammer the thing.
I noticed you did that.
Okay, this is the school's one now.
You're going to have to hammer your son because I don't think he's listening to you.
Ow!
Pretty good at it, too.
Okay, lights, camera, action.
That's one of the projectile points that the University of Winnipeg put a handle on, so that they have an idea of, when you just look at the projectile points, it doesn't mean it, but this way you can see how they tie it. That's with, of course, the way of fastening it on. And that's a good sample of the projectile points that were found at the Kuiper site.
Is the Kuiper site just west of the perimeter?
It's where that fancy new housing development is.
Because I worked there. My first job was I think it was Joe Kuiper's farm,
Yes.
hoeing tomatoes.
That's it.
And I remember we used to find stuff on the riverbank.
That's right.
I never kept any. But
Yeah, that's where it is. Yeah.
Okay. Small world, though.
And the kids get quite a bang on this because we explain, how the women had to strip the meat off and the children helped and they had to dry it, and then of course we have those pemmican people think they're axes, but they're all over Manitoba, those
Scrapers are all
the stones, yeah. And actually in Darlingford, they have a cairn there, and they've got those things stuck all over dozens and dozens of them, just cemented in.
The pemmican pounders.
But we're explaining the logistics here in that the men shot the buffalo and identified them with their scarves or their sashes, but the women cut them up and they had racks to dry them.
Is that how they identified them as scarves or sashes?
I'm sorry?
They identified the buffalo.
Well, they had, those sashes that the Métis have.
Yes.
They would throw it on there. That was theirs.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Well, otherwise you could.
Yeah.
You could run into it's mine, it's yours type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that of course is we got that from Bertha Bush, but that's just a classic thing because he farmed here in 1858, and his wife, she never ever did have a coat or anything. That's a Hudson Bay shawl that she has.
Oh.
I didn't pick that up because it's not in color and it didn't ring a bell, but that was, Bertha said that's all she ever wore in winter time. The sons have, the son-in-law is in the center there.
Yeah.
He's got a cloth coat, a great coat or something.
No, bottom is Jean-Baptiste Beauchemin, is that right?
Jean-Baptiste.
And he was on Riel's council, but that isn't well known.
They argue about that.
Yeah,
too.
but we know he was.
Is that right? Depends on who's writing the story.
Yeah.
The girl on the left is his eldest daughter, and the boys have buffalo coats.
Yeah.
And Pat Beauchemin was born on the buffalo hunt. And he used to, is he the one who used to do that? Who was born on the buffalo hunt? Bill Beauchemin. And he used to grade the roads?
Yeah, he worked for the municipality grading roads. I put that in. It's not really a kid thing, except we could tell them that the houses were along the river and they had these 4-mile strips of land. So just, you can mention that that's the norm.
Well, another thing, Len, is most people aren't aware that the roads follow the lot lines. A lot of the roads out here.
Oh yeah.
I mean now they've built bays and that in them, but the the width of a river lot I think was 6 chains, and the chain is 66 feet, and so the reason the roads are so far apart is they follow the river lot lines. At least am I correct on that, Lenny?
Well,
Some of them.
Some of them. I mean, you know, if you look at like some of the roads, like Dieppe and Buckingham, are obviously closer together
Could you
than out
point
here.
out a couple of the streets so they'd be familiar on that?
Well, you could probably go by the bends in the river and look at a current
Yeah,
map.
where,
But
where would Charleswood Road be on that?
We've got some close-up maps that we can
Well,
add
Yeah,
to this.
I just think that's
Well, wouldn't this be
interesting.
the Vasselund bend
lot,
here?
Lot 59 is...
Is this Vasselund in this area here? Is there Sturgeon Creek,
The
eh?
other side. The other side.
Oh, wait a
That
minute.
would be Roblin.
No, but this would be Is this okay? Well, this is Sturgeon Creek, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So this would be Rollin Boulevard, be running along here. So this is the bend. This is where Grant and Roblin come in.
That's right.
Yeah. So this would be where Coventry, Buckingham, Dieppe, Hearthstone.
This is the Karen property here,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and it's got the Beauchemin and the Hogue lots listed here.
where, I'm just thinking of the streets that children would recognize.
Yeah.
the
So
names
these would
on,
be like
Bruce
Charleswood Road,
mentioned.
Berkeley, Municipal. I think those are the ones that I
Yeah.
would be saying would follow the river lot
Yeah,
lines.
yeah,
Well,
that's
Yeah,
Cool,
we could
that's
throw in a
interesting.
slide of the...
Yeah.
of the-
We'll add a slide that has.
So that'd be Sturgeon Creek.
Current
That's probably
overlay.
Omans Creek, and that one's Colony Creek. Probably is just filled in.
No.
Bay, isn't it?
No, wrong.
Wrong
scale.
But,
Wrong scale.
you know,
Yeah,
if
farther
you're
down.
talking to children, you
they
have to tame it down.
oh,
You can't-
absolutely, yeah.
You can't go
I
into
know.
long details about surveys and stuff like
No,
that.
you're not. We're not going into surveys. All I meant was that it'd be interesting if you
To set
just
the
point
location.
it out.
Yeah.
And now this is where Charleswood Road is, or Buckingham, because the children in this area
We know
are
we know
familiar.
we know
Yeah,
Municipal
wherever their
and
school
Berkeley
is.
because Municipal was a narrower road, and that's because the
Just-
school.
just
Tell
a-
them the story about the school being donated.
Just a couple of
Yeah,
streets.
yeah. But that's a good one.
And that's our purred lily. That's the real thing.
Yep. Seen a lot of
And-
those. Western red lily.
What we do,
Yeah.
what we used to do is a break in different topics was to put either wildflowers or something.
Oh.
And then it changes gears,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
And we did a presentation at University of Winnipeg for, I guess it was mostly teachers, to show how we did it. And the one fellow said, you know, I've been doing this kind of thing for a long time, and I never thought of putting those breaks in between the different topics.
Well, another thing, Len.
But he said, I'm going to do it now.
Well, another thing with putting those in is, I know when I was younger, before I got in the history business, I guess I had some sort of misconception that the past was in black and white. and
Hey, that's a good point.
Yeah, you tell the kids, okay, you just saw this beautiful, colorful flower. Think of this picture in full color. Like, it always, to me, it looked bland and
Yeah.
old and passé. And no, I mean, if you put that in full color, that picture, it's full of life and activity. You're going to see bugs and blue sky and everything else, eh?
That's Mr. McConaughey, but the reason we put this in also is because that's called Red River construction, where you put posts up and down and then fill it with shorter logs because they didn't have long logs here.
Very good.
So they could utilize the short ones by two uprights and then putting them across.
Oh,
Also, it was hard to find long, straight
Never-
logs. If you look at oak trees, they bend and they
Yeah.
twist, and poplar trees.
I've never heard of that either. That's really
In
interesting.
English, they call it Red River
Yeah.
frame, and in French, it's pièce piece on piece.
Good.
I think.
And of course
Braconnier is
he's-
one of the early Métis families.
yes,
It's very
that's
important.
Braconniers were one of our early Métis settlers. And
Isn't that beautiful?
That's a Métis hut, a Métis house,
Okay.
and it's logs inside. This,
I'm
it
gonna
was
move over here
clad
because
with- it was
Hey,
I
clad
doing it
with,
on that too, but
siding
glasses
later
on.
on, but and these houses were small, like they had just two rooms on the bottom, and then the sleeping quarters upstairs for the kids type of thing.
Mhm.
But they only used that really for winter quarters.
Oh.
You know, in the spring they went out on the buffalo hunt, and in the fall they went on the buffalo hunt. So really that took care of the summer, and so winter was just hold up there.
And my dad has a nice interior shot of this. We only lost this about 10, 12 years ago, I think.
I remember you used to see it out in the
Yep.
The other thing is,
Out towards.
with putting sleeping quarters upstairs, of course they were heated by fireplaces or wood
The
stoves.
heat
Heat
rose.
rises,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it generally it's the last.
Yeah.
It's probably the warmest place, the last warmest place in the
Yeah.
house.
Do you have an interior shot of this, Grandpa? Do you have an interior shot
You
of it?
know,
I've got one, but I didn't.
You didn't
use
put it in?
You know,
Okay.
there's hardly any windows in there either. I guess that's so the heat doesn't get out.
Well, also glass is very expensive.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
glass is expensive.
I mean,
And
basically,
that's the original
Yeah.
Karen.
before the
house.
railways, it came from England and packed in molasses.
I have a letter.
Wow.
Charles Karen and George lived in this when they first started out. And then George built the big Karen house when he got established.
The other thing that's interesting about these things is we used to have a summer kitchen. It wasn't attached to a cottage
Yeah.
at Grand Marais.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of kids don't understand, what's that shed building? Well, on the farms, they had what they called the mud room, where you came out of the fields and you took all your dirty clothes off. But also the summer kitchen, because in the summertime, you don't want to be cooking on a wood stove in the main house.
That was the woodshed.
Yeah, and also the
Yeah.
woodshed, too, yeah.
Yeah, I remember summer kitchens.
And then we have the Karen
Okay.
house where it was, see, notice under the window how they chopped the hole right
Oh
through.
my, so there's Karen House.
And then we have the Karen house where it is now. And then we have
Good picture.
the Flesh Karen reunion. 350 attended the reunion. 350 Karens and the Fleshes and 2 Van Roons. And they invited us because I did a little bit of
Oh,
gussing up a photograph. And it was just a beautiful affair. Really.
Do you know what year that was?
I think he should be facing the other way, the butterfly.
That's okay.
He's upside down, is he?
Well, butterflies do that kind of thing, you know.
Oh, don't change it now.
that's a beautiful shot, picture. Did you take that?